Welcome to another installment of Disturbing Things You Shouldn't Google. In this series, we take a tour of some of the most unsettling and macabre topics the world has to offer, without you worrying about having to unsee them. Jeffrey Dahmer, also known as the Milwaukee Cannibal, is debatably one of the most well-known serial killers in American history. Jeffrey was born on May 21st of 1960 and had a less than desirable youth. His mother suffered from addiction and anxiety that would ultimately strain Jeffrey's home life, leaving him to cope alone. Through his youth, he became an alcoholic and was known to collect and dissect roadkill and even began to fantasize about homicide. At the age of 18, Jeffrey committed his first murder. The victim was a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks. The two had spent hours together drinking and listening to music at Jeffrey's home. When Hicks asked to leave, Jeffrey refused and bludgeoned the boy to death with a 10-pound dumbbell. Nearly a decade would pass until Jeffrey would kill again, this time taking the lives of 14 men and two 14-year-old boys. Most of the men were lured back to Jeffrey's home from gay clubs, drugged, and then strangled to death. The corpses would then be dismembered, sodomized, eaten, and disposed of in different ways, most notably in a tub of acid. Several body parts were also stored away in a freezer as well. On top of all this, when police raided Jeffrey's apartment, they discovered several Polaroids that depicted the victims' corpses, all in different stages of dismemberment and sexual positions. Many of these can be found online.
The only motive that there ever was to completely control a person that I found physically attractive, and keep them with me as long as possible.
Cutting is a pretty self-explanatory form of self-harm in which someone creates scratches or cuts, most commonly on their wrists, arms, or legs. Unfortunately, a strong stigma has developed towards people who engage in cutting. This is specifically due to the belief that it's associated with certain subcultures when, in reality, people of all ages and backgrounds can hurt themselves as a way to cope with feelings of depression, anxiety, and even loneliness. Of course, everyone is different, so the severity of these self-inflicted injuries will differ depending on the person. Coldness in My Heart was the username of an anonymous Tumblr user who was known for posting disturbing images of their self-inflicted injuries online. The gashes were so severe that many online users would debate their validity, arguing that there was no way that anyone could survive such horrible injuries. Coldness in My Heart has disappeared from the internet, but the gruesome photos this person is known for can still be found online to this day. If you've followed my channel for quite some time, then you might remember episode 3 of this series, where I introduced you to a faceless cat named Chase. For those of you who don't know, Chase was left deformed after being hit by a car as a kitten, but now lives a happy and healthy life. At number 3 on our list, we have a canine with quite the similar story. Kalu was found alone in a ditch, presumably waiting to die until he was rescued by Animal Aid Unlimited. The dog was missing majority of his face, leaving much of his skull exposed. His eyes appeared to be destroyed as well. The wound was infested with maggots, and the rescue team had considered putting the dog down. Instead, they decided to treat Kalu, cleaning his wounds and allowing him time to heal. Against all odds, the dog began to regain his strength, and eventually the wound healed. What's even more shocking is that Kalu's left eye healed completely, and he now, just like Chase, lives a happy, normal life. The video of Kalu's recovery has accumulated over 8 million views since its release in January, so it is possible that you've already seen this one. If not, you may want to actually look it up despite the title of this video. Just be aware that the initial images of Kalu are extremely graphic and difficult to look at for any animal lover. If you haven't heard of body farms before, then you're probably picturing something similar to the crime scene I described earlier in Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment. Luckily, body farms aren't necessarily that shocking, depending on who you ask. They're actually research facilities that are used primarily by forensic anthropologists to study the human body in different stages of decomposition. The first body farm was founded in 1981 by Dr. William Bass after he noticed that there were no facilities dedicated strictly to the study. Naturally, these centers have met controversy at the hands of small groups who were concerned with issues such as odor, unsightliness, and burial rights. The last point not being an issue, considering the bodies are donated with consent from the families after they've either been involved in a crime or donated to medical research. Of course, if you were to search this up, then you will see corpses in various stages of decomposition. One that has been brought up many times by my viewers is bloat. Bloat is exactly as it sounds. It's generally considered to be one of the first visual signs of decomposition when gases accumulate in the body's cavities, giving it an inflated look. Of course, if you're squeamish, then you might not want to look this one up. Encyclopedia Dramatica is a Wikipedia-like satirical website that was founded over a decade ago, most known for its focus on current events and internet culture. The site has sparked controversy over the years for being widely considered politically incorrect and crude depending on who you ask. One reporter from the New York Times has called the site a snarky Wikipedia anti-fan site, and many would agree with this statement, while supporters of the site say that Encyclopedia Dramatica isn't meant to be taken seriously. Out of all the different articles you can find on the site, none stick out more than Encyclopedia Dramatica's infamous Offended page. I won't go into too much detail, but this gallery has become one of the internet's classic shock reaction challenges alongside others like 3 Guys, 1 Hammer, and so on. When you open up the page, you'll see a message that reads, "Were you offended by what you just saw? Please scroll slowly to the bottom of this page." The first 3 images are harmless. One of a cat, and then 2 pictures of happy-looking women. Anything after that is honestly too graphic for me to describe in detail. There are images of gore, both human and animal, suicide, self-mutilation, and so on. There's even been an unsuccessful petition to have this page removed. Of course, this brings up the debate of censorship and what should and shouldn't be allowed on the internet. While I was working on this video, I decided to run a poll on Twitter and ask you guys if you think disturbing images of murder or gore should be censored. 79% of you voted no, while the other 21% said yes, and a handful of you guys tweeted me saying that it depends on the purpose of these images and whether or not they'll be harmful to the victim's loved ones. What is it that you think? So that's it for today's countdown. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already done so, go ahead and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever it is that you want. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and also, we're really close to